Welcome to episode 239 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio on the beautiful campus of Grace College and Theological Seminary by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who had one of the smallest weddings you'll ever hear of, John Scott Sloat.
And that's the way we like it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So how we doing?
Doing all right. Monday or I guess not morning. Monday day here, and feels like a Monday.
Yeah, a little overcast, a little kind of dreary.
Plus busy weekend.
Yeah. Yes.
Brings with it sort of a dragging Monday, so to speak.
Yeah, a little bit of a non-alcoholic hangover. Mm-hmm. We should stress that.
Yes,
part.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, well, let's get to this, John. Let's get the mentions. Let's get rolling here. If you'd like to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter at VNSPod. You can email the show, variousandsundrypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star rating. By the way, I forgot to mention. So you remember last week in the service, it was mentioned that there was a British couple visiting because they were on their way. They were in the States for the worship conference that Sovereign Grace did end of this last week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what I didn't realize at the time is that it was Gil and Lucy Virgo.
Okay.
Which would mean nothing to you necessarily.
Okay, good. I was fearful that you wanted me to know those names.
No. And their daughter Lucy. But what makes that significant is Gil's dad, Ben Virgo, is the guy who leads the church history tours in London.
Oh.
That we went on last summer.
Yeah.
And had a phenomenal time. Had dinner at his house. His family is
You're on his
lovely.
podcast, right?
Well, here's the funny thing. We recorded an episode.
Uh-huh.
It still hasn't come out.
Really?
Yeah. So Gil had been instructed by his dad saying, when you see Matt, please apologize that the episode hasn't come out yet. But it's on its way. But the funny thing, he's like, and by the way, he's like, my dad really enjoys your podcast. So shout out to Ben Virgo in London. Wanted to give that shout out.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a ton of fun.
Yeah. So
we got a British contingent.
We do. We have a small but loyal listening audience.
A live ep from England.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. The problem is the funding piece there.
Yeah. Well, my job.
That's right. You can go raise it.
Yeah, I'll raise the money.
That's true.
My loyal listeners.
There you go. All right, John, let's talk some sports. Basically the Olympics is kind of consuming a lot of the sports world, I would think.
Yeah, like 3 days. I think we're 3 days into the Olympics as of recording. I guess 4 when this drops tomorrow.
Yeah.
Things seem to be moving. I mean, some small medals have been handed out thus far, like individual competitions, things like that. We're still getting into the thick of like basketball games are still going on, soccer, gymnastics, things like that are happening.
Yeah. We watched some Olympics yesterday. And you end up just finding yourself watching these random events that you're like, oh, that's interesting. But one that's not random is boxing. And there is clearly some unique point system that they use in Olympic boxing. Because we watched a match where it looked like, I think it was between a Spaniard and a Chinese guy, okay? And it really looked like to everybody in the room, to us, that like, oh, the Chinese guy won.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spaniard wins. And you're just like, what am I missing in terms of like the point system here?
Yeah.
And they don't actually announce the score. They just say winner on points. and they raise the guy's hand. And they don't even show like,
Yeah.
he won 57-53 or something like that, or whatever the numbers are. It's just like, yeah, he won by points.
Well, and I think there's like a panel of 3 judges that determine those points.
Yeah.
And I just think it's incredibly subjective.
Well, and like the match we watched before that, one guy, I think he was from Ireland maybe. Like his whole strategy was to avoid being hit. Like he literally was dancing around. It looked like something out of like a Rocky movie where you're just kind of, ducking and just moving around and not like actually like throwing punches and engaging in what looks like a fight.
It's kind of Floyd Mayweather esque. He was always a very technical boxer.
Yeah. Also enjoyed some, I think it's jiu-jitsu, which again, I don't understand the scoring system or how that works either.
Well, when you break the other guy's arm, you win.
Yes, when you dislocate the other guy's arm. Yeah. Though, did you hear the backstory to that?
No.
Okay. So the guy, I think he was from Tajikistan who had his arm dislocated. In the match before, apparently, in the round before this, he had fought against an Israeli guy, beat the Israeli guy, and instead of like shaking his hand, like just walked by him and said, Allahu Akbar, and just walked by him. So some people are sort of, connecting the like kind of karma, like, you come off as a tool and then, you get your arm dislocated. But anyway, what about you? What have you watched? What has entertained you?
I've watched a little soccer, watched a little basketball,
Okay.
Little gymnastics, a little bit of swimming.
I feel like in the Summer Olympics, like it's gymnastics the first week. Like that's kind of like the big.
Oh yeah,
big.
And America's got a good female team this
good
year.
Women's team. Yeah. And then the second week is track and field.
Exactly.
Like it's like that's really kind of how it's structured. So.
Yep. And I normally really enjoy the opening ceremonies. That's
yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Did you actually watch it or?
I watched them. Yeah.
Okay.
And I love like things that I really enjoyed. First of all, it was very French, which is a little weird, right?
Okay.
But like the fact that they weren't
now you're really playing to our British audience.
Yes. That might be something I have the most in common with our British audience. The French are an odd bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get it. I was in France once. Have I told you this story? I was in France once.
I don't know. Maybe.
And I heard like 4 times people come up to me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't speak English." In perfect English.
Yeah.
Just wild. Anyway, so I did enjoy that it wasn't contained to a stadium. So the fact that they had the Parade of Nations coming down the river, very cool.
Yeah.
And hitting the different spots in the city, very cool. Even the little guy running across rooftops grew on me. I thought it was real strange at first.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this guy? He looks like a thief, like he stole the Olympic torch. And then I thought this might be to detract from protesters from like dousing the flame. If you have him like
I guess
pre-recorded running across some of these rooftops and stuff.
Yeah.
That was sort of my thought on that. One thing that I found odd is they just had like a lot of non-French people performing. Like Lady Gaga performed.
Yeah.
She's from the Upper East Side.
But didn't she sing something in French?
She sang in French.
Okay.
Which, good enough, I suppose. Celine Dion.
Okay. I think she has French roots. Or maybe she's Canadian.
She's Canadian.
Okay. That's what it is.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, is not French.
Well,
they speak French.
There are parts of Canada that are
Quebec.
like especially Quebec, French descent.
Yes. I was just kind of floored that they didn't have more French performers. Now, I did enjoy the Marie Antoinette beheaded head singing. Like that was a good call to history, and I love the heavy metal rock group that played during that. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Like it was just a very weird and kind of twisted sense of humor. It was like, this is your history. You realize this.
Yeah.
We're celebrating the French Revolution. It was quite bloody.
Yeah.
But yeah. What I didn't enjoy was the other stuff.
Yeah.
The portrayal of the Lord's Supper. I did not enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was – yeah, I did not get to see it. I only saw clips on social media. And, you can tell. Like, you start scrolling through social media, you're like, okay, so I've seen this now, which means that this group of people is just going to be absolutely losing their minds. And then this other group on the other end of the spectrum is going to be somehow defending it. And you're going to have gradations in between. And you can pretty much guess, like, okay, this person's going to be defending it. This person's going to be critiquing it. This person's going to be in the, like, well, it wasn't great, but, you can just kind of predict the spectrum of what's going to come in terms of reactions.
Yeah. Yeah. And didn't enjoy that.
I did not either.
Didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. One interesting thing I did see, though, about it was that some people have pointed out that it was a violation of sort of like the Olympic policies, code, ethos, whatever. But like apparently it's kind of written into the Olympic charter or whatever that you're in these sort of like opening ceremonies and things like that, or even in the by the athletes themselves, like that the use of religious symbolism is prohibited to try to prevent people being offended or it becoming a platform for that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, well, obviously they didn't read that part of the charter there. If
Yeah. I mean, even the IOC apology wasn't really an apology.
Yeah.
Oh, we're sorry people got offended. From our polling, it shows that this is actually people think this is very inclusive.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not sorry,
right?
You're doubling down.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, I think we're just getting underway here. I've not watched much coverage, so I haven't seen any of the like human interest stories or anything like that.
What do you make of? Did you see Joel Embiid get booed?
No.
Yes, Joel Embiid was booed
because.
Well,
is he of a French connection?
I believe so,
and he's playing for the U.S. Is that why?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, just an interesting storyline to keep on. I'm all for Joel Embiid getting booed, by the way.
As a Knicks fan.
As a Knicks fan,
yes,
I am against. I am okay with him feeling bad about himself.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I do think the men's basketball could actually be interesting this time around because there's enough international depth now with so many good international players that play in the NBA that. The U.S. team is all NBA players, but they're playing some teams that have 2, 3 NBA guys and then other guys that play high-level international basketball as well. So,
somebody – I can't remember who was telling me this, but in 1992 when the Dream Team played, there were 8 NBA players not on the American team.
Yeah.
And now it's like – 50, 60? I mean, there's a number of them.
Yeah.
A good number.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is absolutely a fair point in terms of, I think a lot of the debates of, how does the 92 the original Dream Team compare to today's,
Well, and in the opening ceremony, I don't know if you knew this, but LeBron James was the holder of the American flag.
I did see that, yeah.
By the way, with all the driving rain in Paris, it looked like he was crossing the Delaware.
That's right. I did see some,
which was really funny.
Yeah.
But they said he's the first male basketball player to hold the flag. I was like, you really didn't give it to Jordan in '92?
Yeah, that is
really
surprising. Yeah.
So anyway,
I don't know. All right.
Want to do a medal update?
Yeah. Let's. This is as of Monday afternoon at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. So total medal count, the United States leads at 14. Mm-hmm. They do not have the most golds. The most golds is a tie between China, South Korea, and Japan right now, 5 each. I believe the U.S. is tied for the most silvers with France. France has the second most at 13, and then Japan at 10. There's some fascinating countries with one medal.
Okay.
Do you want to guess some of them?
Trinidad and Tobago?
No.
Cameroon? I don't know.
Okay. Well, sorry. There was a better idea in my head. Each with one gold medal.
Lithuania, Estonia.
Azerbaijan.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Uzbekistan.
Okay, the stand's coming in strong here. Okay.
And then I think this is fascinating. So I'm on the medal tracker for Apple News.
Okay.
Hong Kong, China.
Interesting.
And that's an interesting statement, isn't it? Each of them have one gold medal. Isn't that interesting?
All right.
Poland, Mongolia, Kosovo, Fiji, and Tanzania all have one silver. And then there's a number of
Tunisia?
Tunisia.
Not Tanzania.
No, Tunisia.
Okay.
Tunisia.
All right.
And there's a number with bronze medals.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up the sports segment, Major League Baseball trading deadline coming up.
Yep.
Mets
got Winker over the weekend. Jesse Winker. You okay? He's basically a fourth outfielder for us. He's got a good bat, good personality. He'll do well with New York media.
All right.
And then we're looking at getting maybe a starting pitcher, maybe a relief pitcher. Tampa Bay Rays are in a selling spree. They've sold off 3 pieces so far. Trying to think who else. There's been a few other moves, but that's about it.
All right. And NFL training camps are underway.
Yep. I read that the Jets had somebody step on Aaron Rodgers' foot when he took a snap under center, and he stood up and he was hot, screaming at those guys.
Wasn't immediately cut?
I think offensive line depth is so valuable.
Okay. Okay.
That's
probably true. Yeah. I think the only clip I saw a clip, and this is because it's related to Ohio State, but there was a clip on social media of Garrett Wilson actually getting into it with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah?
Because he they were not on the same page, Wilson ran an out. He was expecting an in or something like that. Where it's and Rodgers was getting on him, and Wilson was like, "That's not what the play is. If you'd been here, you'd know that." Okay, getting after Aaron Rodgers a little bit.
Yeah, honeymoon's over.
Yeah. So good for him. All right, John, you ready to move on?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, so we are at our main topic for the day, and it is the long-awaited wedding of the year, we might even say.
Yeah, in our world, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your son, Jacob, what's his middle name?
Matthew.
I was about to say Matthew. Jacob Matthew Harmon, also known as Snake. Was married on Saturday to the lovely Autumn.
Yes, formerly Autumn Anderson.
Now
Autumn Harmon. Yeah.
As she slowly changes her name because that's such an ordeal.
Yeah, legally she's still Autumn Anderson, but
yeah. So we were discussing this in our not you and I, but my team in our meeting because we just had a member of our team get married, and she was saying that people wrote her checks while they wrote Mr. and Mrs. with the new last name.
Right.
They can't cash those until her name's changed. So now she feels like she's in a sprint against that 180 days that you have on the check. And I imagine Jake and Autumn are in a similar boat.
Yeah. So, big day.
So let's walk through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you as father of the groom, is you're responsible for the food at the rehearsal dinner.
That's correct.
So let's start with the rehearsal itself. Highlights. We'll downplay lowlights, but worth throwing that out there. What happened? How'd it go? And then talk me through the food, which will feature prominently in our discussions.
Yeah. So actually, on the Friday, so they got married on a Saturday.
Okay. So rehearsals on a
typical,
Friday.
Yeah. So actually, Friday morning, we went and helped set up the venue a little bit.
Okay.
And also set up – there was an area so in the venue itself, they got married under this massive like concrete and steel like pergola.
Yeah, they called it a greenhouse, I think.
Yeah. But when I hear greenhouse, that's not what I envision.
Exactly.
So,
there were no plants.
Yeah. So think of like the structure almost of like a pole barn kind of thing, but not like the kind of metal like sheeting that is on the outside.
It didn't really have size.
It just had a frame essentially.
Yes.
And it had the clear like curtains essentially that you could pull closed in case it rained or to help control temperature or whatever. Anyway, so at the back of that, in that large open area where there was, that's where we set up tables for the rehearsal dinner.
Nice.
So it's on site, nice there. So we were setting up there in the morning, and then went back for the rehearsal around 5 o'clock. Ran through the ceremony, which was great, a lot of fun. And then after the actual rehearsal, we had some barbecue from Shigs and Pitt.
Careful.
You
now.
got to think through that one
Yes.
every time you say it.
Yes, very careful. And what specifically did you have? Like what sort of meats?
So we had brisket, pulled pork.
They do a good job.
They do. It's delicious.
We should get a sponsorship.
Yeah. And like a cheesy potato casserole.
Oh, yeah.
And like mac and cheese that had some jalapenos in it, so that had a little kick to it.
Nice.
And then Kate also made a massive salad, bought some pies from like Costco and Walmart for dessert.
That's great.
And it was just a delightful – and by then – and this is all in the shade, so like it was a lovely evening in terms of temperature.
Well, and I will say the day of the wedding was very hot.
It was. But the day before was cooler.
Was cooler.
Yeah.
But anywhere you were in the shade, it was pretty nice.
Yes.
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. So at the rehearsal, had a chance just to acknowledge
Did you give a speech of some kind?
a brief one before I prayed. Yeah. Just to affirm and bless Jake and Autumn, and then also affirm the Andersons for raising a great daughter, and
that's sweet.
Just an incredible family that they are, and so a lot of fun, and it was just a very relaxed time at dinner there. Got to sit. I sat at a table with Zach in Ohio.
Nice.
They had to kind of divide and conquer between their 4 kids, So
they were playing zone.
His lovely bride was at a different table, and also with our pastor Mark was at that table, and Kate and I, and Kate's dad, and that always makes it interesting.
Yeah, definitely a series of curveballs there.
Yeah. So great evening, a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement, but
now,
things went smoothly.
Talk about the venue a little bit,
because
that's a pretty unique setup there. It might be the most popping thing in Huntington, as far as I can tell.
So it's called the Clubhouse, and it used to be a golf course, and so they turned like the main clubhouse into a place where they had the reception, basically. But then on the just outside of that, that's where they built this this kind of steel pergola that the ceremony was in. It's right next to a beautiful pond.
Oh yeah,
and they did keep a putting green.
Yeah,
just right off, just a little bit a ways away there. So guests could, if they wanted to, some did probably, go up there and putt around a little bit.
I noticed the youths and
the Utes,
and their fathers,
yeah,
were up there putting. But as you looked out, if you looked out to the other side of the clubhouse, you could look out there and expect to see a golf course. Once you knew that and you sort of looked out over the grounds, you're like, oh yeah, I could see a hole there or whatever. And
the venue was gorgeous. It also had a nice in the building where the reception was. They had like a bridal suite where Autumn and the bridesmaids and the moms got ready and that sort of stuff. And I only know what it looked like because I helped carry stuff in the day before. And of course we're talking high end, I don't even know how to describe it, but what you'd expect a high end bridal suite to look like, classy. Nice chairs, separate makeup tables for the different, bridesmaids and that sort of stuff. And
now, did Jake and Autumn see one another before the wedding?
No.
Okay, so you went with tradition.
We did. Yeah.
I like it.
Well, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
You had no say.
I had no say in it, which is fine. I don't need any say. But in a separate building, you remember when you pull in the long driveway there, there's what looks like a service building or with a garage kind of thing. Well, in a corner of that is the groomsmen's suite. And that was actually nice. It had a massive sectional couch, big screen TV, pool table in there.
Oh, nice.
Had some cornhole boards in there. So just a great place to kind of chill and hang out before you get ready and that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Great venue. Absolutely stunning and well decorated. I mean, Autumn's mom is just – it's her third wedding that she's put on for her daughters. So she's a professional at this point, and it was stunning.
All right, let's talk about the ceremony a little bit.
Yep.
I was in the very back.
Yeah.
Partly because my wife was on call for work. And
she was?
She was. So she had her phone out on her lap the whole time.
Okay.
And we were prepared to duck out to the car if she needed to look something up on the computer or something.
Okay.
So
Which the service there was poor in terms of cell phone service.
Very.
Was she able to get a bar even?
Yeah, we were able to have we had bars. I think one. So that's enough,
Yeah.
We did not have to – our plan was to go to the car, and normally she has to look something up on the computer if that happens. And so we had our computer in the car, and we were just going to hotspot my phone.
Right.
Which would not have worked well now that I think through it. So we would have driven into the metropolis of Huntington to figure something out.
Yeah, for sure.
But we didn't have to do that. So we were in the back. So we got kind of a total view of everything, which was really cool. It was beautiful. Our Pastor Mark did a nice job, did a good job.
He even worked in a Timmy K quote for you.
He did. I wasn't going to bring that up, but
I knew from the rehearsal he had mentioned he was going to say, and I'm like, oh, that's going to warm John Sloat's heart.
It did. It did. The music was wonderful as well. Being able to sing some hymns, I thought Ben on the keys did a nice job.
He did, along with Luke.
Yes, Luke as well
on the box drum, and then Tori playing guitar.
Yeah, and Tori sang one of the songs.
She did. Yeah,
she did a good job.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the ceremony?
I mean, Mark did such a great job.
Jake cried, right? I couldn't see tears, but I saw some eye rubbing.
Oh yeah. And of course, Kate and I were also, water fountains of tears. Yes. But Mark does a great job with the sermon. Clear gospel presentation, as well as, but not long. I think anything over 10 minutes is a major mistake by a pastor in a.
Yep.
I think it's got to be 10 or under.
I think that's a modern move to keep the wedding sermon shorter.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good move.
It's a good move, yeah.
So my parents' wedding, my mom loves to tell the story that she had laryngitis on her wedding day.
Oh, no.
And told the pastor to keep it short. And he preached an hour for their ceremony.
That's so that's incredibly awkward for not just the people attending, but for the bride and the groom to have to stand.
Yep.
And the bridal party like having to stand that long.
Particularly when you have laryngitis.
Yeah.
And you go to say, and my mom tells the story that in sickness and in health was a big laugh line for their wedding.
I bet. I think, one of our favorite moments was Kate and I and Autumn's parents went up and prayed for them privately, essentially. Like they could see we were praying, but you couldn't hear what we were praying. Just a beautiful moment. It took me back to my own wedding when Kate and I got married, and we prayed together privately in the midst of the ceremony, and I still remember very vividly specific things that we prayed for. And how God has answered those prayers even since then. I mean, we prayed for our future children, and here we are praying at our son's wedding. So that was a special moment.
Nice. Should we move on to the?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you want to do cocktail hour a little bit, or how were the photos? Tell me about how
the photographer was great. She was very efficient.
Okay.
And so. Did a great job, and one thing that, we took some pictures before the ceremony, just not with Jake and Autumn together.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Amazing, yeah, certainly streamlines things. But one of our favorite moments was I didn't know they did do this now, but they call it a first look, even for so Kate had not seen Jake. I was with Jake most of the day, so I'd seen him in his.
You got to play cornhole
in his suit and all that kind of stuff, and so they do this first look where Kate gets to see Jake for the first time, and they kind of took us down by those trees that were between the pergola area and the little pond there, but had Kate have her back turned, and as we're waiting, the photographer asks us, "So, what do you love about Jake?" And that just for both Kate and I, there was this pause, and we just start weeping. It's it was one of the most unexpected, emotional moments in the whole thing. But just has a very sweet conversation with Jake. Right, it's probably 45 minutes before the ceremony. A lot of fun. But yeah, pictures went smoothly, at least from an insider's perspective. You were just enjoying the cocktail hour.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the cocktail hour there?
So we were removed from the shade at that point.
Yeah, though there was some shade on the side of the building.
On the side of the building, and that's where everybody congregated. So it was pretty tightly packed.
It was.
I thought it was great. I connected with a ton of people. Walked around, talked to a bunch of folks, saw people I hadn't seen in years. I saw Lori there.
Alexander, yeah.
And connected with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it flew by. It went really, really quick.
Yeah, good. And the appetizers.
Oh, yes. Oh, let's talk about some apps. Okay, I had 3. Let me see if I can remember them all. I had the meatball on a stick.
Yeah. So
delightful.
Good. So good.
I had the stuffed mushrooms.
Yeah.
The stuffed mushrooms were very, very good.
I'm not a huge mushroom guy, but those were delicious.
So I described it this way to Andrea, and Andrea rolled her eyes at me. It was almost like somebody took the stuffing out of a combo. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
And put it in a mushroom. That's what it tasted like to me.
Okay. That's
like that
funny.
cheese pizza flavor. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then I had bruschetta.
Yeah.
And that was
And there were different varieties of the bruschetta, depending on what was on top of it. One, there was a lemon one, wasn't it?
I had the lemon one. It was fantastic.
Yeah, there was also a tomato one, and there's just different flavors of that.
It was well done.
So good.
Was there a caterer that specifically did that? Mm-hmm. Do we know who?
I don't. Okay. Otherwise, I'd be happy to give them a shout out.
Well, we'd be happy to have them
sponsor the show. Yeah. So, and there were beverages, including an open bar for those so inclined.
Yeah, for those who partook.
Yeah. So, so cocktail hour wraps up. Reception starts.
Yeah.
With the entrances.
Mm-hmm. And you guys did you and Kate, the parents did an entrance as well.
Yeah, I've not always seen that before. But,
I had not seen that before either.
But yeah, we did. So Kate and I, not wanting to be totally shown up by the Utes, decided that. So I brought an Ohio State football, a scarlet and gray football with the Ohio State logo on it. And so as we entered, I hiked it to her and then went out for a pass that she threw to me. So
nice.
Yeah. Something simple.
Yeah. But memorable.
Yeah. And a way to work in some Ohio State love into the
which
into
came
the
up
reception.
multiple times.
It did. So yeah, entrances, and then they went right to the first dance. After the whole party was announced, and then they came in, did their first dance, which was interesting. I hadn't seen that before either. And then we prayed, or Steve, Autumn's dad, gave a brief speech welcoming everyone and
told a good joke about you.
Told a great joke about me.
Did you know that was coming?
He ran it by me first. Like, I wanted to make sure this wouldn't offend you. Like, I love it. Please say that.
Well, what was funny is I was at a table with Zach in Ohio, Nate in Ohio, Gabe in Indiana, and the four of us were looking at each other like, Matt volunteered to do we should probably tell the joke, but basically Steve gets up there and goes like, Matt asked to be a help, and he has to do invitations, and you asked specifically to handle all the ones from Michigan.
Yes.
And none of those people showed up.
Yes.
And so we're looking at each other just going like, there's no way Matt offered to help with invitation. And then we realized it was a joke as it went on.
Yeah. So, and then I had a chance to say just a few brief words and then pray for the dinner. I mean, again, that was one of my favorite parts as well. Just I made this comment because I think it's helpful. Part of the beauty of weddings is they are a preview. Scripture uses that imagery to talk about the consummation of the kingdom, the wedding supper of the Lamb, and so and the fact that marriage is intended to be a reflection of Christ in the church, and so it's on a day like that, I think it's helpful just to remember, like, as amazing as this is, and it was one of the best days of my life. It's still just an appetizer. It's still just in one sense, a shadow. Doesn't mean it wasn't a great shadow.
It's still just a stuffed mushroom.
But, something even greater.
Yeah.
And that's just a beautiful picture. So, okay. Then we were on to dinner.
Yeah.
Let's talk food.
So first course was a lovely salad.
Yeah.
With a really good dressing. But the main course is probably what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So it was veal.
Yes.
And I was expecting like a little cube of veal, basically, like a veal, a small veal,
like a
steak.
cutlet almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
6 ounces maybe.
Yeah. No.
And they started bringing out the veal, and it had a bone sticking out of it.
These are shanks.
And it was like 6 inches off the plate. This bone went, and was it a rib? Is that what it was?
Yes, it was essentially the equivalent of like a ribeye.
And boy, was it tender and juicy and
unreal,
good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. It was a big hit at our table.
I bet.
Big hit.
Yeah. So Autumn's dad, I forget his specific title within the organization, but is high up in this veal company. So his company supplied the veal to the chef. Now the chef works or owns a restaurant that his company provides veal for. And so they worked very closely to ensure that this was a home run.
Yeah, properly prepared
veal. Yeah, that's great. What about – maybe we'll throw all the food into this part of the segment here.
Okay.
So rest of the food situation. So you've got beyond that you had dessert.
Okay, so there were options for dessert.
Yeah.
And everything was like a mini bites sort of an ordeal.
Yep.
Ordeal. That's wrong. Sort of a situation.
Yeah.
So there were like little cheesecake bites, which were delicious.
Yeah. And you had toppings you could put on that.
Yes.
Whipped topping and fruit and that.
So there was fruit there. There was a coconut whipped cream, which Feels like you're trying to sneak something healthy into my whipped cream a little bit.
But it didn't have a strong coconut taste.
Yeah, that was helpful. There were Buckeyes there.
Yeah.
And then
another homage to the Ohio State.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then finally, my favorite, where they had beignets.
Yeah.
And then they had 3 dipping sauces for the beignets.
So good.
Raspberry sauce, a chocolate sauce, and then my personal favorite, the Banana Foster caramel sauce, which was just really, really good.
So good. Yeah.
And cookies. There were cookies there too.
Yeah.
And those weren't on the menu. Those were off menu.
Yeah. Indeed. And you probably missed this part. I think you had left before this.
Oh, the cereal bar.
Yeah.
I heard about it.
Okay.
Yes, I had left.
Yeah. So later in the evening, they put out a cereal bar where they had 4 different types of cereal. They had Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, Lucky Charms, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, that's just hitting you in the nostalgia.
Yeah. Like, I haven't had cereal in forever. And I didn't have any Frosted Flakes, but I had small cups of like the other 3. It was so nostalgic, and people loved it.
Yeah.
Like, part of it's the nostalgia. Part of it's the fact that like Jake and Autumn both love cereal, and it's common for them to 10 o'clock at night, let's have a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
So it's very them.
Yeah.
Of course, ironically, as it often happens at the wedding, like Autumn didn't get any cereal. I'm not sure if Jake got any either. So
they got some veal though, right?
Oh, they absolutely got some veal.
Good,
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. There was a picture they took. Probably couldn't see this from where you were seated, but they took a picture with Jake and his 2 now brothers-in-law and his father-in-law all holding the veal shank by the bone and just like
awesome.
Eating it straight up.
That's too cool.
It was great. It was great.
That's too funny.
So that's the food. Lots of dancing.
Lots of dancing.
Autumn danced with her dad. Kate danced with Jake. That was a big deal leading up to that. Lots of talk about what song should be played, which I don't remember the title of the song, but I did record it for Kate, and I think she's watched it about,
Well, we were
5,
watching
6 times.
You bust up to the front at our table. We're like, oh, Matt's going to record.
Yeah.
It's time for this.
Yeah. So that was a sweet moment for her, for sure. And just a lot of dancing. And they did a good job. They had asked people to suggest songs to be played at the reception when people RSVP'd.
Mm-hmm.
But they had also asked Kate and I, what song was your first song dance? And they played that song.
Oh, that's really
sweet. And they did the
sweet.
same for the Andersons as well.
One other thing that Jake and Autumn did that I thought was very, very unique was they did was it 3 minutes around the room and take a picture with every table?
Yes. Yeah. So there's probably 26, 27 tables, something like that. And so, they do this thing where, the DJ plays a song and they rush around to every table to try to get a picture with every table. And so it's, kind of a competition. And so, the idea is every table's ready. They kind of gather on one side. And so Jake and Autumn pop in and the photographer snaps a couple pictures and they move on to the next table. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'd not seen that done before.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun in a similar vein to as the dad of the groom and Kate as well, like to work the room, travel around to all the tables that we had people that we knew and just say hi, make sure they're doing, enjoying it. And so that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Your other son, John, gave a speech.
He did. He was one of the best men, did a great job with that best man speech.
Yeah.
Had a great time. He really enjoyed it. So, and tore it up on the dance floor as well.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. What else?
How was the send-off? I'd gone home at that point,
but
but how was the send-off?
It was good. So they it was late for us old people.
Well, that
that
was well past my bedtime.
Way past your bedtime.
Well documented here on this podcast.
So they had us holding these like these like paper kind of mache-ish kind of ball / globes that had like LED lights inside of them to light up.
Yeah. And
noisemakers for us to, clang, I guess, as they came out. And then they got into – so Autumn's dad has this really nice old convertible. It's got to be like
It looked pretty cool.
a
It was a
40, 50-year-old car at least.
baby blue, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So that's all. It had lights on it, and it had like the cans trailing behind it. And so, they got in, and Steve like drove them a lap around, and then like took them out where they ended up, getting out of the car and getting into their vehicle and going off.
Sure.
But yeah, it was beautiful. Just a lot of fun. But yeah, so much. What's wild is it's just an interesting collection of people. You have all of the Anderson, family, and then their friends, and then you have people from all different parts of our lives, right?
Sure.
You've got former students of mine.
Mm-hmm.
My college roommate Rich and his wife were there.
Rich was there?
You didn't?
I didn't meet Rich.
Oh, that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that was a swing and a miss.
Yeah, it's a bummer. A couple of our neighbors were there, and just people from church, obviously. Just a cool collection of people that from different parts of our lives, and family as well. It was great to have Kate's family in town. And you weren't there long enough for this, but like one of the shocking things, Kate's mom was out on the dance floor.
Really?
For a long time. Like she was cutting the rug.
Wow. I assume Tom was not out there.
He was not. He was not. I mean, they went out for like the they do the dance where it's like, okay,
the anniversary dance.
Yeah. Well, they came in second. Autumn's grandparents came in first. They'd been married. Did you hear the number?
No, I didn't.
66 years.
Wow. That's a long
That's
time.
Unreal.
That's a long time.
That's unreal. So
you could pull that off. You got married young enough. You could pull that off.
well, how much? So we'd have to live another 38 years to get to 66. Yeah. Hope so.
I think that's well within.
If we make it to 90.
I mean, maybe not striking distance, but
hope
within
not.
the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that's potentially doable.
Yeah, I think you guys. I think a 65-year goal should be
Absolutely.
on the table. I
Yeah.
mean, really longer if
Yeah.
it's not like you hit 65 and you stop.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, just one of the best days of my life.
That's
and,
awesome.
Very memorable. So glad you were able to be a part of it.
It was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to talk about from the wedding, or do we want to press forward? I don't know. I forgot to start my timer.
We're really long here.
Okay, let's press on then.
Yeah. All right. Time now for This Day in Sports History.
All right, this day in sports history, July 30th, 2024. I know every time we do this, it's like, gosh, where's the year going?
Well, this is always the point of the year where it feels like, okay, summer is over. Now I'm really thinking about got to prep for the start of the school year.
Although it's still, we got 25 days till students show up here?
Yeah, I mean, we have in-service stuff for me. So really, I've got, I guess it's probably about right. About 3.5 weeks.
For me, it's just parking's going to be hard for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Until
there you go.
Anyway, 1948, July 30th, Czech distance runner Emil Zatopek wins the 10,000-meter race at the London Olympics in 29 minutes and 59 seconds, an Olympic record.
Yeah, I'm guessing he might have been the first person to break 30 minutes in light of that time being 29:59.
And what's the time now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
1959, in his MLB debut, San Francisco Giant future baseball Hall of Famer first baseman Willie McCovey goes 4 for 4 in a 7-2 win over the Philadelphia Phillies at Seal Stadium.
I have no idea where that is.
Well,
I don't.
I assume that's in San Francisco.
Yeah, but
with a name like Seal,
probably
that's not a Philadelphia name for sure.
No, no.
Willie McCovey, though, quite the hitter.
Mm-hmm.
One of the 100
one of the greats.
Best. Yeah. 1966 FIFA World Cup final at Wembley Stadium. Striker Jeff Hurst scores a hat trick as England beats West Germany 4-2 after extra time.
With the British spelling, Jeff. Geoff.
Yes, like the giraffe from Toys R Us.
Okay.
Spelled his name out.
Yeah, that's right.
1976, future TV personality from Keeping Up with the Kardashians and transgender figure Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, sets world record 8,618 points to win a decathlon gold at the Montreal Olympics.
Yeah. That's just wild.
That was a very complicated sentence to read out loud.
It was. It's a very complicated situation to articulate and understand.
Yes. 1992, Yael Arad, did I get that right?
Sure.
Becomes Israel's first ever Olympic medalist when she wins silver in the women's 61-kilogram judo competition in Barcelona. 20th anniversary of Munich Massacre and 500th anniversary of Alhambra Decree.
Yeah, I don't know what the Alhambra Decree is.
Okay.
Should have looked that up.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. And 2023, just one short year ago. British Senior Open men's golf at Royal Porthcawl. Is that right? Golf course?
Sure.
Alex, oh boy, it's got a funny letter here. Setschka?
I'm guessing Cheka.
Cheka of Germany wins his third senior major title in a playoff against Irishman Harrington.
Padraig
Harrington.
Yeah. All right. So who do you like out of that, John?
I like Willie McCovey.
All right. We can go with that.
I'm a baseball guy through and through. Willie McCovey.
Indeed.
One of the greats.
One thing you liked.
I wish I had thought about this ahead of time now. You know what? I imagine, it'd be easy to say, well, Jake's wedding, but we kind of talked about that the whole episode. So
Agreed.
I'll go out of left field on this one.
Okay.
I visited one of our alum and got a tour of Ramsey Solutions in Nashville, Tennessee.
Really?
And that was pretty cool. Now, I don't love everything Dave Ramsey does, but I got to see where the show is filmed.
Wow.
They hand you a free cookie, a free cup of coffee.
Wow.
And yeah, you walk in the front door and there's where he films his show. Just right there, where he does CNN hits, where he does Fox News hits.
Interesting.
It was very cool. That's a big operation down there.
Yeah, it's huge.
They have 3 or 4 buildings, like 6, 7 stories high.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I assume they're all debt-free.
So I talked to another alum later who goes, yeah, that's a very polarizing company in the community. And
I'm sure.
I'm like, why is that? He goes, to work there, you have to hand over your financials because they want to make sure you're living it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, boy, that's wild. Just wild.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. I didn't know we had an alum that
we have a few, actually.
Okay. Interesting.
A few.
All right. Well, obviously, in one sense, the wedding is the obvious pick. But as you mentioned, we talked about that for the whole episode. So the day after the wedding, so yesterday, was also my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got to celebrate that yesterday with some family, and
nice.
it was good. Yeah, the big 5-1.
51 now.
Yeah.
Wow. How you feeling?
Well, coming off a day like Saturday is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're tired. I mean, we didn't get to bed till like 1 a.m. after the wedding.
Ugh.
But
well, the Zach in Ohio was staying with Andrea and I, and they didn't get back to the house till midnight. I think.
Yeah.
With those 4 little ones. Ooh.
Well, I was amazed. Like, they did a great job. Like, all those kids, like their kids and the Tribbett kids who were also part of the wedding. They did great. They stayed till the send-off.
Did they?
And they, you always worry with little ones like that. Like, there's going to be a meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
And, there was, you could tell a couple of the kids were getting tired, but like they did great.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they got to see the send-off. The send-offs tend to be so late now that I think, it tends to be a much smaller crowd. So it was cool, I think, for the little ones to see the send-off as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But, yeah. That is our one thing we liked. All right, John, we have talked Olympics. We have talked the wedding of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about Willie McCovey. We have talked about Ramsey Solutions.
That's right.
We have talked about my birthday. And so I think, by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
Later.